Ladies and gentlemen, let's get ready to rumble! It's time!
Boom, perfect timing.
Hello and welcome to No Ducks Given podcast, and we are here today with my co-host Tommy Hull, and we are going to be discussing UFC 285 pay-per-view, Jon Jones headlining against Ciryl Gane. Now, Jon Jones, the greatest of all time. For me, he is, for the stuff he's done inside the cage, but the stuff he has done outside the cage makes people, he's a controversial character. Tommy, what do you think? Jon Jones, greatest of all time?
I think exactly the same. I think in the cage, he's undoubtedly, he's beating all the legends of his era. But outside the cage, he's had many controversies, and that's where the debate lies, really.
I'm just going to cut in there with all the legends of his era. You look at the resume, he's beaten Stephan Bonner, a good fighter of his era. Ryan Bader, a good fighter of his era, that went on to be a world champion in other organisations. Mauricio Rua, when he won the title, the youngest ever UFC champion at the age of 23 years old. Rampage Jackson, Leo Tomachida, Rashad Evans, Vito Belfort, and Chael Sonnen. I mean, that resume
is some resume. That's
crazy.
A lot of legend of that era.
And then you look in that era, 8-0 against those fighters, accumulating 6 stoppages, 4 submission victories, which is that's kind of his thing. Jon Jones he's not really got the knockout power.
No, but he's that well rounded. He can finish anyone any way he wants. Ground game's great. His striking's great, and that's something Jon Jones really is just a really well rounded fighter.
And we'll go into some techniques, the techniques that he's used and the techniques that he's actually, people have looked at him as the way he looked at Anderson Silva, where he throws his oblique kicks. People have started to, bring that into their game, and now it's evolved, the knee stomps, that type of thing.
I think he was one of the first really all-rounded fighters, along with GSP. Yeah.
Well, when you talk about the GOAT, greatest of all time, you've got Jon Jones in the mix. You've got GSP. You've got Anderson Silva. Who else would you put in there?
Put Khabib in there. I think he's just dominated everybody, hasn't he? And then, yeah.
Demetrius Johnson.
Yeah.
He's one that people seem to overlook.
Yeah. But he should definitely be in that conversation.
I agree. And the way that's another topic for another day, but the way the UFC treat Demetrius Johnson is.
It's unfair.
Jon Jones, going back to Jon Jones, he's been fighting at the elite level for 12 years now. It's just incredible. I know he's had time out like 2-3 years. It's been 3 years since his last fought in the octagon. Dominic Reyes, where people kind of put, a question mark over that victory. What do you think about that?
It's a controversial one. I think a lot of people thought Reyes won that fight. I personally thought Jones did win the fight, but I get the argument. Reyes did put up a good fight. I don't think Jones was at his best that night, but yeah, I think there's an argument for either way for that one.
And then we'll go back to another fight that he had that was kind of controversial, Thiago Santos, where Thiago Santos kind of he did stick it on Jon Jones.
Yeah, I personally think he gave him perhaps the toughest fight of his career so far.
And he obviously, he picked up a bad injury. What was it, MCL and ACL tear?
Yeah, something like that.
In the same knee. That's quite incredible.
I think that was actually the first time a judge had Jones' opponent up on the scorecard, winning in his career. So, yeah.
But previously, he's had some real tough fights with Daniel Cormier. His biggest, everyone knows the Cormier versus Jon Jones rivalry. In his first fight, everyone thought that it was going to be so much, 50-50, even straight down the middle. Apart from like the opening round where things were kind of cagey, and people were, expecting Daniel Cormier to be ahead of Jones in the wrestling department and grappling department.
Jones was the first person to take Cormier down in his career, wasn't he?
And I'm pretty sure, I watched the fight back a couple of days ago, and I think he actually took Cormier down 3 times, using various techniques as well. That just goes to show that coming out of college, he was an elite Greco-Roman wrestler, Jon Jones, and people forget that that's the case, because they look at, like we spoke about earlier, the oblique kicks and the spinning elbows and those type of advanced techniques, but he wasn't a striker coming into MMA. He was a Greco-Roman wrestler, and that could be something that he looks to use for his advantage against Ciryl Gane on Saturday. And going back to the Cormier fight, he won that by unanimous decision, wrestled him. He beat him in his own game, and that's something that he did against the era that we spoke about earlier.
Yeah, and that's the great thing about Jones. He's so well-rounded that he can just beat anyone in any department, and I think he does it on purpose as well. He just wants to.
I agree.
Make them feel bad.
Look what he did against Lyoto Machida, where he could have easily, just wrestled him, took him down. He didn't do that. He wanted to try and fight karate versus karate, and he didn't have to do that. It's like he knows he's that good. He's kind of arrogant but confident. Whatever you want to call it.
I'd say arrogant. Personally.
Yeah, he comes across that way. And he kind of gives his opponent as much of a psychological advantage. Oh, he's fighting in my game. This is my game. For example, against Machida. But everyone thought Machida could win in a kickboxing match, and he didn't.
No.
He couldn't. And then obviously he got his standing guillotine, that infamous standing guillotine.
That was one of the most brutal finishes I've seen in the UFC.
It was pretty, but brutal at the same time. And the Daniel Cormier in the rematch that happened a few years later, he won by TKO head kick. But we talk about the controversy.
Later overturned.
Yeah. Picogram, illegal substance found in a VADA test. Give us your thoughts on the Picogram stuff, because people have.
If you tested positive, then you have to go with it, don't you? Again, it's a shame because he won the fight, and in great fashion as well.
But the Picogram, this is what people have an issue with when it comes to that fight being overturned. It was a Picogram, and the meaning of Picogram is literally so minute that it doesn't even affect performance. Yeah. So it
is harsh, but at the same time, it's still something, isn't it? That's forbidden.
Well, that's it. But enough of the Jon Jones tour. Let's go. There's another guy in this fight, and another. I'm a big fan of Ciryl Gane. I'm a big fan of Jon Jones, but I'm a big fan of Ciryl Gane as well. Ciryl Gane made his MMA debut in 2018.
Only 5 years in the MMA game.
And this is his second title fight.
And he's fighting, the greatest of all time, arguably.
We'll go to Ciryl Gane's resume. Junior de Santos, a legend. Okay, yeah, he might have caught him when he was older. Still a legend. Jairzinho Rosenstrike, Alexander Volkov, Derek Lewis, and Tuivasa, that fight was extraordinary. Ciryl Gane got sat down against Tuivasa, and that was the first time we got to see Ciryl Gane face adversity, 'cause he's kind of had it too easy. He's kind of strolled, tapped, jabbed his way through fights. But Tuivasa sat him down. He got up.
He didn't want to fight.
He ended up stomping Tuivasa.
Who, by the way, he had won his previous 5 fights.
Yeah,
all by knockout as well.
A hot streak right there.
Yeah.
And Gane's an extremely good kickboxer. We know that. So is Jon Jones though. But moving up, I don't know what weight is going to be on the night. Maybe an extra 35 pounds. So maybe about 250 pounds, I guess. Jon Jones will be on fight night against a proper. I'm going to call him a proper heavyweight because we don't know what Jon Jones is like at heavyweight.
Yeah.
Do you think Jon Jones will go in there and have a kickboxing match with Ciryl Gane?
I don't think he'll do that at all, personally. I think he'll go in and he'll wrestle from the off. I think that'll be his game plan. I do think if he stands with Gane, it's risky because I think Gane will be faster than him on his feet. This is the thing with Jones, he's going up in weight and you just don't know how fast he's going to be, don't you? There's so many questions on that, and also his cardio as well, that's a talking point. Is his cardio going to be as good as it was at light heavyweight?
At light heavyweight, he arguably is the best cardio of all time.
That's true. But can he go up in weight and maintain that? That's the question.
And not only that, can he mix it up? He might be able to do a kickboxing match for 5 rounds at heavyweight. Could he mix? Can he afford to mix it up and have the same tank, same energy left in his gas tank when it gets into the championship round 4, round 5? It will be interesting to see if he can.
Gane's proven he has a good tank. He's gone 5 rounds against.
He went 5 rounds against Francis Ngannou.
Ngannou, yeah.
And Francis Ngannou,
he's a beast.
Yeah, and the power, he actually got into grappling exchanges early on.
Yeah.
With Ngannou, and he looked very strong, stronger than what most people expected.
The first 2 rounds, he arguably won. The first 2 rounds, and then 3 to 5, I thought Ngannou gained control.
Yeah.
And won quite comfortably.
Championship mentality.
Yeah.
And he made a mistake though. Gone. I can't remember what round it was. Was it round 4, where he could have just laid on Ngannou in top control, but he decided to go for an ankle lock, heel hook, and that was kind of the turning point, I think, momentum wise, because Ngannou reversed it, and then he started. Well,
he got on top, didn't he?
Yeah, but the thing is, he didn't really look to pass guard. He didn't really look to land heavy shots. He just laid on him there. But the control time kind of like made him lose that round.
Yeah.
Bad mistake in a big moment. Could that burn him in this fight?
That's what I was just going to say. I think against someone who's got incredible IQ, I think greatest IQ of all time in MMA, who can win a fight anywhere he wants. And Jones always seems to know what he's going to do next. Always. And I think against someone like Gane, he's inexperienced really. He's only fought how many times? 12 times.
This will be his 13th fight, I think.
Yeah, so his 13th fight. And against Jones, who's nearly defended as much as that.
Yeah.
He's defended his titles 11 times. So
I've actually written that down in my notes right here. Gane has had just 12 pro MMA fights coming into this. To put into perspective the difference in experience, Jon Jones has 11 successful light heavyweight title defences.
I think Jones will have seen everything that Gane could throw, really. But has Gane seen everything Jones can throw?
That's a big question.
Yeah.
And has he fought? We talked just spoke about Ngannou and Gane getting into wrestling. It's different. Ngannou's not known for his wrestling or grappling. Jones is an elite Greco-Roman wrestler.
Yeah.
How is he going to be able to handle?
And he can't afford to make a mistake like he did against Ngannou, against Jones, because if he does that, he'll get sent into a submission and lose.
I think the submission game of Jones is something that will win this fight, but we'll talk about how we see the fight going a little bit later on. I want to talk about the tail of the tape now. Now, Jon Jones is 26-1. Ciryl Gane is 11-1. His only loss is against Francis Ngannou in that title fight we just spoke about. The height, they are both the same height at 6'5". Ciryl Gane's weight is roughly 247 pounds. We don't know what Jon Jones is going to weigh yet. We'll have to find out. Maybe he'll come in a little bit lighter than what many think. Maybe he'll come in very heavy and look to dominate in the wrestling department.
He looks huge, doesn't he?
He does. But I think Dan Hardy spoke about this in a video. And he spoke about when Jon Jones had very, very skinny legs, like calves. He had very skinny calves.
Yeah.
At light heavyweight. And at heavyweight, he's put on. You can see the muscle that he's put on his back, his shoulders, his arms, his chest, his thighs. But he's still gonna.
Will that weigh on him?
That it's a.
And the kicks from Gane as well. Will that damage his calves?
Because we know about Ciryl Gane's Muay Thai style, extremely good,
fast for an heavyweight.
He is. Age 32 for Ciryl Gane, 35-year-old for Jon Jones. I don't think age is going to be a factor in this at all. Jon Jones, although he's 35, he's fresh. He's never really been in a war, so he's still going to have, They're both orthodox, although both can quite easily switch up.
Southpaw, yeah.
The reach is interesting. I thought, although he was moving up, Jon Jones, to heavyweight, I thought he was going to have an extremely large reach advantage over Gane. For some reason, I don't know why I thought that. But it's only a 3-inch.
It's not much over that, really, isn't it?
But the way that... It's not really It's okay having a reach advantage in combat sports. And specifically MMA as well. But can you utilise that to your advantage? A lot of fighters can't. But Jon Jones, with his elite IQ...
It's about distance control as well, isn't it? Getting into range and moving out of range, and I think that's arguably more important than the reach itself, really.
And a lot of times in his previous fights, Jon Jones does this to his opponent to measure. Wonder if eye pokes. I wonder if eye pokes will become a thing. A lot of people made that into a meme online about Jon Jones's eye poke. Did they think a lot of people think it's blatant? I personally think it's not blatant.
I think it's blatant.
And we'll delve more into the two records. Jon Jones, 10 wins by TKO KO in his career versus 5 for Ciryl Gane. Submission wins, Jon Jones has 6, Ciryl Gane has 3. Wins by decision, Jon Jones has 10, Ciryl Gane has 3. Neither have had a loss by TKO or KO, and neither have had a loss by submission, though Ciryl Gane obviously has that one decision loss to Ngannou. Now, you may be saying, but Jon Jones, he has a 1 on his record. Where is the loss? Well, we'll talk about that. Matt Hamill, the DQ. Remember the 6-12 elbow?
Yeah, I think it's harsh.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
come on, let's talk about it. This is a big talking point.
Yeah.
People want this overturned, so he still has his at his name.
I mean, I don't get why it's illegal.
Well,
but I get it generates a bit more power than a regular side elbow.
yeah.
But you can knee people in the head. Isn't that just as damaging as a elbow down?
I agree. I do agree, but also you got to look into the other side. I remember Jon Jones I remember Joe Rogan talking about something to do with the 6-12 elbow on his podcast many years ago, and he spoke about where like some I don't want to get this all completely wrong, but it was something to do with like the North Korean military or something like that, and they was demonstrating what that strike could actually do to a solid brick, like a house brick. And they did it, and they broke the brick. It broke the brick. Now, if it can do that to a house brick, what can it do to somebody's...
I take back my opinion.
But it's a strong point though, because why... If you're going to make a strike illegal in MMA, why?
Knees to the head.
Yeah.
I mean, you can literally hold someone's head and then
bring it forcefully.
Yeah, with force, whilst bringing the head down as well. So isn't that just as dangerous? You know,
the regulators, commissions, whatever, they clearly think that elbow strike is illegal. Now let's talk about the submission victories for both, because I think Gane's underrated in submissions. But if you're comparing the two, I think personally Jon Jones may be the most dangerous submission artist. And I'm not talking about like, I'm going to get stick for this, Charles Oliveira, the best submission artist, but I think Jon Jones is the most dangerous submission artist, and I'll tell you why. His arms allow him to do chokes from the most ridiculous angles that I've ever seen personally. And he's got 4 guillotines on his record. One of them was the iconic standing guillotine versus Lyoto Machida. He's got a rear naked choke on his record. He's got a key lock submission on his record. The guillotines is just too much of a threat. I think he's the best guillotine. He's the most dangerous from like guillotine.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. Yeah,
because he can get you on the cage. Even on the ground, he can get you in a guillotine from like side control, which is like unheard of. Ciryl Gane also has a guillotine on his record. He also has an arm triangle on his record, and the heel hook, which he also tried against Ngannou, which messed him up. When you look, let's just say that the two get into a scramble from a grappling exchange. Who do you think comes out on top?
Personally, I think Jones, mainly because of his experience. I think if any of them are going to make a mistake, it'll be Gane. Jones is not going to make any mistakes. And if they do get into them grappling exchanges, I won't be surprised if Jones sinks in submission, to be honest.
Let's talk about the takedown defense and the takedown accuracy of the two, because I think that is key. After the point that you just made, the takedown accuracy of Jon Jones, it's not great. 44%.
I'm actually quite surprised at that.
But the takedown...
That's quite a lot, doesn't it?
The takedown defense of Gane is 55%. So Jones isn't the greatest at takedown accuracy, but Gane's not the greatest at defending them. So, having said that, does that consolidate your opinion that Jones can, not ragdoll him, maybe he will ragdoll him, we don't know how powerful he's going to be, but he's going to, pin him down, get him there, pin him down.
Yeah, I think so. I think he'll take him down and he'll keep him down as well.
But let's just say the 55% accuracy, takedown defense accuracy of Gane holds up. Let's just say he stuffs 2 or 3 of the first 4 or 5. Let's just say that, and he keeps it standing. The strike accuracy of Gane is 59%, and his strike landed per minute is 5.11. So just over 5 significant strikes landed per minute. And his defense, his significant strike defense, is 62%. That's quite good for a heavyweight.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna compare that with Jones. Significant strike accuracy for Jones is 57%, and significant strikes landed per minute is 4.3. So, and these are the stats from him fighting a light heavyweight. Gane at heavyweight seems to be the more accurate and better striker than Jones.
I'd agree with that. Yeah.
So talk to me about this. The fight, obviously, it starts out on the feet. Round 1, touch gloves. What happens?
For me, Gane's got to be disciplined. He's got to strike and move. I think if he's overly aggressive too early, that's where Jones will take him down. He's got to be disciplined, stay at range, moving out in and out of range, strike, and stuff his takedowns attempts early on. And if he can do that, maybe Jones will bail on his takedown attempts and he'll strike. And that's where I think Gane would have success.
This is where feinting comes. We spoke about Jones's IQ. This is where feinting comes into play, I think. And what I've noticed, I've watched his fights, a few of his fights back over the last few days, just to get pumped up for his return. And I've noticed he loves this feint, and I'll put a picture, I'll edit in a picture, so you know what I'm on about. He'll touch the lead leg of his opponent, he'll crouch down, level change, touch the lead leg of his opponent, and then if the opponent bites on it, because if they think he's going to take down, he'll come over, spin an elbow, and he'll catch them with that. He did it against Gustafsson in the first fight. That arguably changed the course of that fight, because you remember the Gustafsson 1 fight was incredible. That was put at that time, he pushed him to his limits, and that kind of
that is one of the greatest fights in UFC history for me. I
agree with that. And the spinning elbow changed the course of that fight, in my opinion, though. Big momentum swing.
Yeah.
And then he fought him again a few years later, and he tried the exact same thing. He tried the exact same thing. He bit on it the first time. Gustafsson bit on it the first time, but Jones didn't throw the spinning elbow. The second time, he did it about 10 seconds later, literally 10 seconds later. And Gustafsson thought it was a feint, but it wasn't a feint. He actually pretty much speed him to the ground, and eventually he got the finish on Gustafsson.
Yeah. And that's the IQ of Jon Jones. He tricks his opponents into thinking he's going to do one thing and then he does something completely different, or he'll make them think he's not going to do that thing he's going to do, and then he'll do it.
And that's something that he could kind of. I hope it doesn't happen. I want to see a proper 50-50 fight. But Gane's inexperience, we've touched on it before. Could all these feints, the master of feinting, Jon Jones, we'll call him the master of feinting. Gane's good at it as well. But the inexperience of Gane, could he be like frozen in the moment with all these feints of Jon Jones, faking touching him up and down, faking the takedown? Do you think that Jones can freeze Gane?
It's a possibility. I mean, he knows he's going in against one of the greatest of all time, and he's inexperienced, and I think I think though Gane will be the most confident on his feet. I think if it does go to the mat, that's where he could start to panic a little bit.
Who do you think should be the aggressor in the fight? Who do you think should be the one that's pressuring their opponent back to the cage?
I think Jon Jones. I think if Gane does put too much pressure on early on, that'll be an error, because I think that'll give Jones the opportunity to take him down. I think Gane, like I said, I think he has to strike and move early on, stuff his takedowns, and then hopefully find an opening for a knockout strike. And as far as Jones goes, he's got to keep striking with him and then keep attempting these takedowns and try and take him to the ground.
Do you think we will see a return, seeing as though it is Jon Jones' return, do you think he's going to try and put out a statement of the signature strikes, we'll call them the signature strikes, that he's kind of, made his own? The oblique kicks, the knee stomps, the spinning elbows, the elbows from close range. Do you think he's going to try and fire these off early?
Well, we know Jones likes to beat his opponents at their own game, so maybe he will start throwing kicks and try and end him with a kick and maybe finish him that way.
Is there a possibility that he baits Gane early into thinking it is going to be a kickboxing match to throw him off his guard? Obviously, it's a mixed martial arts fight. Gane's going to have done several hours of grappling, wrestling training, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. But let's just say the first 5 minutes, and Jones makes it a kickboxing match. And then coming into the second round, Gane may think, maybe thrown here, he maybe think, oh well, it's a kickboxing match. And then Jones switches it up and turns it into a wrestling match. That would throw him completely off his game plan.
I mean, that's what Gane has to be wary of, isn't it? And that's something Jones would do as well. I think in the first round maybe he'll start off kickboxing, use a lot of feints, and then in the second round maybe he'll mix in the wrestling and try and take him down.
So is there anything you'd like to add to what we just spoke about?
It's an interesting fight. I personally think Jones will win. I think he will eventually take him down. I think the first maybe 2 rounds it will be a striking contest. I think Gane will have some success in the exchanges, but then I think Jones will take him to the mat, and I think he will lock in a submission. I'll go with something like a rear naked choke.
I'm going to give my prediction. I don't know what round, but I agree with you that he's going to eventually get him down. I'm not sure what round he starts to, throw in them takedowns. I think he'll get him down to the mat, and something that Jones does regularly in his fights, when the grappling exchanges, he'll get into a crucifix position, and he'll either look to throw elbows, or he'll look to try kimuras or key locks. And I just feel like Gane is too inexperienced. Obviously it's an MMA fight. They're going to have done several hours of drilling these sort of scenarios, but I just feel like what you do in the gym is completely different environment to when you're there fighting on the biggest stage against the greatest of all time. We spoke about it. I think he's the greatest of all time. There is a lot of pressure, and I think he may lose his composure, and I think that's where Jones can get a crucifix and maybe win by TKO via elbows in the crucifix position, or I think he might single an arm and get a kimura.
That's all it takes, one little error like there was against Ngannou, and I could lose in the fight.
That's it. One bad mistake can change the entire fight. Anything else you'd like to add?
I think we've covered it then.
Right. And the co-main event. The co-main event features arguably the women's greatest of all time. Valentina Shevchenko defending her belt against Alex Aggressor. Big fight. I think it might be a little bit more even than what some of her previous fights have been.
Yeah, I'd agree. I think Grasso is a good striker. But I do think Shevchenko will get the win.
I agree with that. Shevchenko, like we say, arguably for me, women's greatest of all time.
Yeah, she's like the women's Jon Jones, isn't she?
Yeah.
With how well-rounded she is, I don't think many people knew how good she was at wrestling until she proved it.
And then she started judo throwing everybody to the ground and ragdolling them. And just like Jon, she chooses to fight people in their own game and beat them. So maybe Alex Aggressor's a really good boxer. So
maybe Shevchenko will outbox her.
Yeah, that could be the
or
case.
Maybe there'll be an upset. Maybe Grasso will hurt her and knock her out. You never know, really.
It would be interesting. Remember Nunes versus Pena?
Yeah.
Nobody gave her a chance.
Nobody did.
Well, that's it. UFC 285. Jon Jones versus Ciryl Gane. It's been good. First episode of the podcast. No ducks given. Thank you very much. I've been your host, Jake Stanland, and this has been my co-host, Tommy Hall. And we'll catch you again for another one. Thank you very much.
Referee steps in and calls a halt to the contest.
Oh, Jesus!